Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, you know who's riding shotgun. It's my main man, Reggie. What's going on today, Reg?
What up? What up, Cam? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I got a little bit of a cold or something, so if I sound stuffy, bear with me there. I'll put it on mute if I go to cough.
You say
But
if you sound stuffy?
no, if I go to
Sounds
cough, I
oh,
know I sound probably stuffy.
you do.
Um,
You do. I was gonna go ahead and let the cat out the bag. You do.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good though.
But I'm gonna persevere. I'm gonna fight through this. Looking forward to talking with you about the upcoming game against the Atlanta Falcons. We are 2-1. They are 1-2. Um, you know, this time last year, roughly, we thought that we were going to be, we may be bumping heads against the Atlanta Falcons for years to come. The talent they have, the up and coming talent that they have, along with Washington, and we can get into some of that. But what are your initial thoughts, just very broad, on the Atlanta Falcons right now?
Um, you know, they're a team. I think at the end of the day, slightly underachieving. If I'm being honest, they have too many weapons at the skill position for them to be not a good team. If I'm being completely honest, I mean, even when they had Kirk Cousins last year. Yeah, you can have your opinions about Kirk, but Kirk's no slouch. Um, and then they drafted. We all know that they drafted uh, Michael Penix, and he played. And man, based on the I think 3 games that he started last season, you felt like, man, a strong off season, a full off season, and another year under the offense and the weapons that they have, that they would be a team battling for the division. And I know it's still early and they can still turn this thing around. I mean, they win on Sunday, they're 2-2, right?
Right.
But again, I think just overall it just seems like it's not clicking just yet for that team when you're given the amount of talent that they have at all the skill positions.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't disagree. I mean, I think that comes a little bit to, one, maybe their talent isn't as good as what they think it is. Right? You swing and you swing for the fences on some of the talent, and not that they're bums by any mean, but you think, man, this guy's going to be a superstar. I mean, I don't want to jinx us, and all of a sudden one of these players goes off. But Michael Pitts, the tight end coming out of Florida. I mean, he
Kyle
looked
Pitts,
like
man.
he looked
Kyle.
like he what was that?
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry, not Michael Pitts. Once again, I'll that wasn't a total butcher. That was just a mess up. But you thought this guy is going to be really, really something special, and he's been a solid player, but more was expected of him when he was drafted, right? They thought he would be the next Kelsey, the next what's the kid out of San Francisco? Um,
Oh man, I'm drawing a blank just that quick.
yeah, but anyway,
That guy, that
yeah,
guy, Kittle,
he was
Kittle,
going to be
Kittle.
he's going to be a top 5 tight end right away, coming out of college into the NFL, and it just
He
hasn't.
was supposed to be what Brock Bowers is doing,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah, Brock Bowers made the Pro Bowl in his rookie year, and Kyle Pitts, man, that kid's not he's not lived up to top 5 pick. I think he was,
yeah,
um, and like I said, it was Kittle. George Kittle is the San Francisco
Kittle,
thing.
yeah, and look, I this isn't a knock that Pitts is a bum by any means. It's just, again, he was going to be a top 5 tight end right out of the gate, and he hasn't been. So that's where I was kind of alluding to. I used him as an example of, you can have less, what appears to be on paper, less talent, but everybody is gelling as a team. Everybody has their role, and then executes that role to the best of their abilities. And I think that's what Atlanta is missing right now. They have more talent, but maybe they need to lose a player or two, bring in a player or two that's not necessarily better or worse, but just fits better to what they're doing. and then go from there. Last year you mentioned Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. You know, Kirk Cousins was brought in before they drafted Penix to be the guy. They paid him a lot of money. He came in, did well the first part of the season, and all of a sudden he went 3 to 5 games where he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Played bad, and then Penix came in and like, okay, we're gonna go to the future. We want to try to make a run for the playoffs here. And then Penix picked the ball up this year, and he's the one struggling. There's talk that they may end up going to Kirk Cousins. I don't think it's going to be this week. If they did, I don't think it'd be until maybe the second half if he was playing really, really bad. But Penix is throwing barely over 58% completion rate. As a starting quarterback in the NFL, that's horrible, right? And again, I don't want this to be his get right game. We talked about that with the Raiders last week. But 58% in the NFL, considering you're throwing a lot of short passes, especially when you're struggling, the offensive coordinator will tend to make it easier on you, and you're still only completing some of them. And if you see any of the highlights or the low lights, I mean, he's missing. So
Yeah, he certainly has not gotten off to a great start, and that's well documented. But nonetheless, with the 1-2 record, they are tied for second in the NFC South with the Carolina Panthers. They're both 1-2, and the division leading Tampa Bay Bucks are 3-0. What they've done to get to a 1-2 record, they lost week 1 to those division leading Bucks 23-20. They won in week 2 with a bounce back game against the Minnesota Vikings. They won 22-6, being 1-1. And everyone thought, okay, man, they just had a get right game. The Bucks are still one of the defending division champions, so they're going to be good. And then they go into week 3 versus division opponent Carolina Panthers, and boy, they were shut out 30-0.
yeah,
I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card for them to not only lose the game, get shut out, and give up 30 points. Man, that
right,
is a somebody didn't clock in and show up for work that day, man. Because that's awful,
yeah,
and
yeah,
especially to a division opponent. And so after that gives them a 1-2 record heading into this week. You have to think that that game didn't sit right with them and their coaches and their players. No different than the terrible game that Washington had against Green Bay on the Thursday night. Didn't sit well
exactly.
with our team. And so we had to have somewhat of a bounce back game in week 3 against the Raiders. And I expect nothing less than that to happen with the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday at 1:00 Eastern time against the opponent Washington Commanders. So
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, I was going to also bring up that we struggled and looked bad overall as a team, right, top to bottom. I thought that our coaches put together a bad plan. We didn't execute, whatever plan they had. We didn't execute it very well at all. And then we had a bounce back game. And normally, when you have a game that bad, what you tend to do the next week or two to get in a groove is take a half a step back and get to more basics, right? Last week, I talked about that going into the Raiders game, and lo and behold, what are we doing? We're running the ball, running the ball, running the ball. When you do that, it opens up some of the passing game. Our passing game wasn't crazy, right? Uh, Mariota was only threw 21 times, right? And so he wasn't going crazy on it, but he's very efficient. The offense was very efficient. The special teams stepped up, and the defense played well, complemented everything, and walked away with the win. It's hard to put a complete game like that week to week, for every single team in the NFL. But that's what Atlanta's going to be looking to do. Is I think they're going to try to simplify it, potentially run more, and use that run to set up because they got a heck of a running back. And from there, use the play action, use holding the linebackers in, holding a safety for just a half a step before they go downfield.
Yeah. What's also interesting about this matchup is this will be the fifth consecutive year that Washington will be playing Atlanta Falcons. Typically the way the schedule works out, you're supposed to play an opponent every 4 years. And but we know, depending on how you finish the season, where you finish in your division, whether you make the playoffs and things of that nature, you may end up playing an opponent second consecutive year. But it's interesting that this will be year
Right.
five, that we will have played the Falcons or have this matchup, whether it was in DC, Maryland, or whether it was in Atlanta. And just quickly here, Washington is on a 4-game win streak against Atlanta Falcons. In 2021, uh, in Atlanta, that was the quarterback Taylor Heineke, Hall of Famer, against Matt Ryan. And I should say Hall of Fame. I should say folk hero Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
And Washington won that game 34-30. 2022, it was in Washington. Again, folk hero Taylor Heineke against guess who? He was playing against Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
And Washington won that game 19-13. 2023, the game was back in Atlanta. And that was the Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter matchup. And Washington won that game 24-16. And then last year, as we know, late in the season, that game was in Washington and went into overtimes. That was the 2 first-round quarterback drafted number 2, and number 8 in the draft. Jake Daniels against Michael Penix, and Washington won that game in overtime by a score of 30-24. So on Sunday, this is going to be game number 5, year 5. And, for us Washington fans, we hope this be 5 in a row for us.
Right.
I'm sure that this 4-game losing streak is not lost on the organization in Atlanta. And so I'm sure they have a little extra effort, motivation to get back to 500, 2-2 by beating Washington this Sunday.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, you mentioned some of the quarterbacks that we faced through that time frame. The current talent they have there, and I'm going to mainly talk about offense right now. Michael Penix, I don't know what he's going to be. Right at the end of last year, you think he might have it. Then this year kind of raises some questions about it. But again, it's a small sampling. It's 3 games. Not only was he having a bad game last week, but clearly the defense couldn't stop anybody if they were giving up 30 points. They did move the ball last week. I think, if I don't recall, they were very close in total yards. They may have actually even had a little bit more yards, but they would have turnovers. They would have penalties. They would have things that kept them from scoring along the way. But at running back, Bijan Robinson, the receiver that if there's one over there that keeps me up at night, it's Drake London. And he makes some good catches, man. He's got a lot of talent. And then Kyle Pitts, I don't think he's as consistent, but he definitely has talent, to make a move, to make a play and get in the end zone. It's just a matter of him. For me, for Kyle Pitts, I keep on wanting to say Michael Pitts. For Kyle Pitts, it's a matter of him getting consistent. So a lot of talent.
Yeah, for sure, man. And looking at where they are, just ignoring the record for a second here. When you look at where they are ranked collectively as a team, then you start to look at it and go, okay, this makes a little bit of sense. So offensively, Atlanta is ranked 20th in the league, 20th out of 32 teams. They're ranked 20th in passing. Now, ironically, Washington is ranked 18th. I was a little surprised by that. Also, offensively, and this is again going to be as a collective team, they meaning Atlanta is 6th in the league through 3 games in rushing. You want to know where we are?
I know, but go ahead.
You do know?
I do
All
know.
right. Well, we're second in the league in rushing. I found that a little bit surprising as well, to be quite honest. But when I think back and realize week 1 and week 3, we both had 200 yards rushing as a team.
Yep.
It makes sense that we're one of the top teams rushing, and that does include Jake Daniels and Debo and those guys contributing to the run game. But going back to, again, why is Atlanta 1 and 2 when you have all of the that you think about their defense a little bit, and that's where they're not bad, but they're second in passing and they're 10th in rush defense, if you will. And but man, they have some studs on the defensive side. They picked 2 edge rushers / defensive end linebacker hybrid guys in today's NFL type players. They picked 2 of those guys in the first round this past draft. And one of those guys is the rookie Jalen Walker, first round 15 pick out of Georgia, followed by James Pierce Jr., first round 26 overall pick out of Tennessee. And James Pierce was touted as one of the top 10 picks. It's just that there were some question marks about him as a player / character coming out of Tennessee. So they essentially tried to upgrade their defense, and those guys are doing okay, but they are rookies. Apparently, there's been highlights, and you can see the talent from these guys. But you've alluded to it already. Hopefully, this is not the get right game for the Falcons, whether it's defensively, where the rookies have a come out party on the defensive side, or all of a sudden Michael Penix decide to have his coming out game, and he's throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson have a career day, or even Drake London being the showcasing the top talent he is at the wide receiver spot. So hopefully this is not the week for that. Maybe next week, but not this week.
Right. The what was I going to say? Yeah, and if you listen to the sports radio and also to the some podcasters and everything, and I apologize, I've lost my camera here for the moment. But they're downplaying. I say downplaying. They're ready to jump off the cliff if they lose to Mariota. Right. I don't know if you've seen anybody like
I
there's no way we can lose to Mariota. Like I said, this isn't one thing. This isn't just chatter from on Twitter type of thing. This is legitimate sportscasters there saying that. But Mariota had a solid game last week.
Yeah. Well, it's they have a different memory of Marcus Mariota, all right? And despite the success that he's had through his 3 games that he's had to come in for Jake Daniels, he's played well for Washington. I think averaging close to 40 points a game as a starter, or as when he came in and played for Washington. That's not the guy that the fan base of the Atlanta Falcons remember. I mean, hell, I just mentioned it here. He lost to Taylor Heineke 19-13.
Right.
I understand different offense, different coaches, and all of the things that goes with that. But Marcus Mariota in Atlanta is not the Marcus Mariota that is the backup QB in Washington, and that is one thing for sure. But it goes to point out that's where people talk about sometimes it's systems. It is systems that players can fit in, and for some reason, Marcus Mariota seems to do fine in the system that Cliff has here in Washington.
Right, and we saw it in the game against the Raiders. Mariota was doing a lot of things that Jaden does. Right, he does the scrambles, the play action. I mean, I thought he did actually some play action where he would ride the ball with the running back and then pull it back. He did it very well. I mean, he's got years of experience doing this. And there's a couple times where I saw the defense kind of reacting to the running back more than they have been earlier in the year. and he would pull it back and hit a quick pass to somebody. I mean, we looked at Mariota and said that it's going to be a vanilla game for him. We're going to rely on the rushing, which we did, right? Ran for over 200 yards, but on his passing, he was 15 for 21. And I went to and looked to see his completions. Passes over 10 yards, right? We know you're going to get some little dump passes. I don't care what quarterback you are in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes does dump passes. 5-yard slant, 3-yard out pass, whatever, and see if your wide receiver can take it and do something with it. Almost 40%, 38% of his passes were beyond 10 yards. So more than 1 out of 3 were beyond 10 yards of his pass attempts. And so I need to go back. I didn't go back and look and see what Jaden's was, but that's probably on average of what the NFL is, right? Half, 40% roughly are going to be beyond, and majority of passes are going to be within 10 yards, that you're trying to complete. And that doesn't count catch and run, right? That was the completion where the receiver caught it. 38% was over 10 yards. So,
yeah. Well, and that's a good stat, man. But that was the one thing that when Dan Quinn and those guys were looking for a backup quarterback, they wanted a type of player that was very similar to Jake Daniels, where they would not have to make major changes or adjustments to the offense in the event that the backup quarterback had to go into the game. And they have talked about how Marcus Mariota does a lot of the same things Jayden does. It's just that Jayden probably just does it a little bit better, right? And a little more natural what he does. But Marcus's game is exactly what Jayden's game is, whether it's in the college or the early part of Marcus's career. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's able to do a lot of the same things. I will say this, man. I understand the folks in Atlanta think that losing to Marcus Mariota would be bad because again, he was essentially kind of a journeyman quarterback when he made his stop in Atlanta, and of course, everyone knows how that ended. I'll be honest, man. I watched Quarterback, that documentary on Netflix, and all we know is the narrative that came out of that thing was that Marcus Mariota got injured. He knew that they were going in a different direction with the player that they had, which in this case was Desmond Ridder, and he basically left and went to go have surgery. And the narrative that came out of that was that he quit. He walked away from the organization, didn't do well to communicate, and therefore they felt like he quit on them. I saw that. I ain't gonna lie; it left a sour taste in my mouth towards Marcus Mariota because of it. But everyone wants to talk about the guy that's in DC, and they're shocked and surprised that he would do something like that. He's not the guy that they have come to know. And just because that's the guy you've come to know doesn't mean that he didn't do that in Atlanta. I know that is kind of a side piece to this story, but it is still a story because I guarantee you, if we were to listen to Atlanta Sports Radio, I guarantee you they're talking about how he left the team and did not call people, and people were trying to get in touch with him, and he was not returning phone calls. He didn't change the narrative. He didn't correct any of it. But at the end of the day, it was kind of a terrible way to essentially what they call kind of like burning the bridge there with that organization because they decided to go in a different direction. He wasn't playing well. He wasn't playing well in that year, whatever he was in Atlanta as their starting quarterback. So nonetheless, that is a storyline. But I asked you the question, Ken. Who do you think will be on the center for our Commanders come Sunday? Number 8 or number 5?
Before I answer that, I will say there's a lot of concern coming into the game against the Raiders with Mariota and the way that we had just played the week before about Green Bay. And I think fans overall, if they have to go with Mariota or if JD is there, fans feel a lot more comfortable this week with Mariota than they did last week. And not that he was, we saw what Mariota did last year when Jaden got hurt, and he did a solid job. But you're like, okay, was that in the moment, or are we going to be able to get that out of him again and the team? And the entire team rose up, including Marcus, and he played very well last week. And so we all feel a little bit better going into Atlanta if he ends up starting. And now to get to your question, I think Mariota's starting again. I think they're gonna, if Jaden isn't 100%, they're gonna hold him. Again, we got a long season, we got a long career, right? We want Jaden for another 10 or 12 years. We don't want him dinged up and injured, and he comes in and then 2 weeks later he's out again, and a week later he's in and out, and just kind of chronic injuries that can happen. Go with Mariota, do an evaluation, get full strength, listen to the doctors more than listen to Jaden Daniels, because Jaden's going to just look. Players want to play. They'll rub a little ointment on it and get out there and play. Listen to the doctors. I mean, take Jaden at his word that he feels like he's ready to go, but listen to the medical doctors on whether he truly is ready to go medically.
Well, as Dan Quinn said, they're not going to miss any steps. That's one of his favorite lines in his pressers when it comes to injured players. We're not going to miss any steps. So I don't think they're going to miss any steps with Jake Daniels. Right. I'm certain of it. I'm certain they're not going to miss one single step. So we'll see. I tend to lean toward Marcus being the starter as well.
Yep.
On Sunday, and I'm okay. Like I said, I was a little bit concerned going into the Raider game just simply because he had not taken any snaps during the preseason.
Right.
So, and to just come in cold turkey like that and just try to gel with the starters, I just wasn't sure how that was going to look.
Yeah,
but it looked just fine.
Yeah, and it's a legitimate argument or concern going into it. You never know about your backup exactly to that point, because they're always running the second team, right? Second team, third team. They'll come in for first team for a handful of plays every week just to have familiarization with what's going on in case your number one gets injured. But yeah, he missed a lot of the preseason as well. But he's a professional. He's been around for a number of years in this league and did exactly what Washington needed him to do. So,
yeah. So we'll see, man.
Yeah. Reg, is it that time?
Ken, I think it's that time.
I think this is Eddie's favorite segment. And I'm just throwing out one name, Eddie, Drew, Riri, whoever listens. Everybody's waiting for this. It's what's your name, what's your number, what's your confidence level? Because we even talk about this at the sports bar. What's your confidence level going into the game of Washington walking away with a win? Red, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll go first, man. Okay. Okay. Well, let me just start by this, man. It's interesting that the spread on this game, as of the time of this recording, is 1.5 point spread with Washington being favored. I think personally the key to win this game is going to be Washington's ability to stop the run. They've done a good job at doing so thus far this season, and I think that trend has to and must continue for Washington to have a chance. I think by stopping the run, which is going to be a tall task against one of the best backs in the league, Bijan Robinson. That obviously will force Michael Penix to win the game. And I think if we are in a situation where Michael Penix is being forced to win this game for the Falcons, then I think that's advantage Washington. It's interesting that this matchup, I think, to me personally, is very similar to Washington going into the game against the Raiders. We have a backup quarterback, Marcus Mariota, star running back, star top pass catchers. In this case, they have both a tight end and a wide receiver. I understand Kyle Pitts, the tight end, has not lived up to the billing, but he is still a dangerous player in this league, and he can hurt you. They have a solid defense. So again, this looks very much like the matchup going into the Raiders for me. What we don't know at the time of this recording is the status of some key players. We don't know where Terry's going to be. He's playing. We don't know anything about Bates and even the status of Noah Brown. But nonetheless, Washington had a great win last week against the Raiders, man. And I think the momentum is on our side, meaning the Washington Commanders. So with that, I'm going to give you a two-piece here, Ken.
Okay.
If those players, those key players I just mentioned, Terry McLaurin, Bates, and Noah Brown do not play, I think Washington still wins this game, and my confidence number would be a 6. But if any of those guys play, any combination of those guys play, primarily Terry, then my confidence numbers goes to a 7.5.
7.5. It's a big variant there. Point and a half based off of those guys, and I can appreciate that. As I was thinking about this and evaluating it, the one that stuck out to me is obviously Terry, because I think Terry keeps defenses honest, right?
Yes.
He without Terry there, what the defense can do to stop Washington dramatically changes. And with Bates out, I expected that to be a bigger concern. But everything that I read, and I didn't get to watch a lot of game film, but Ben Sinnott did an excellent job. Even the coaches praised him.
And they brought in an extra lineman
Yeah.
as well to kind of help with that. So
But-
that's why I said Terry, as much as it is a little less about Bates and more about Terry for
Right.
me.
But they talked about Ben stepping up, and this is what they wanted from him from a blocking perspective. I know he didn't catch. I don't think he caught any passes last week, but he was doing an excellent job at picking up some blocks and even going down to the second level on some blocks that we see Bates doing, right? So that's very promising. I think, like I said, I'm giving my number with Mariota playing and also Terry playing. And with that, I see Washington offensively doing a lot of what we did last week, right? Week 1, week 3, we controlled the game when we were running the ball. And I think overall, Washington would like to be a little more successful with the passing game, but right now you're running the ball well. Let's stick with what you got, and the passing game will come along and start stretching it. We saw some big passes last week. Terry got a big one last week. Luke McCaffrey got one. So these things will come. Defensively, I think this game sits up well for Washington. I think we match up well. We're better in the secondary than we were last year, and to me, Drake London is the X factor. He's the one that I don't want to let him know where he is on the field, know what he's doing. Let the safety kind of keep an eye on him, and I think our defensive front seven will take care of the run. With that being said, I'm sitting at a 7 with this. That's where I sit. I'm kind of in between your high and your low, but I'm sitting at a 7 with everybody basically healthy from last
Well, if
week.
Terry plays, you're a 7 and I'm a 7.5.
Right.
But I will say this, man. Part of my concern here is, and I still think I'm expecting and hoping that Joe Witt will scheme this up. But keep in mind, we lost our safety, right?
Yep.
Will Harris. And Will Harris had been playing pretty well, including covering tight ends. And so who covers the tight end? Kyle Pitts. And if you bring down the safety and try to cover that, then now who covers Drake London? And then you still
Right.
got Drake London because we expect Marshawn Lattimore to be back because he was tested for concussion. Trey Amos, I think, had an ankle, but I expect him to play.
Right.
And you cannot overlook the skill set of their running back. And
Agreed.
again, I still think Washington gets it done because I think defensively we'll do enough, and I think offensively, with that momentum and the confidence, I think that they got from the victory over the Raiders, and I do think they march into Atlanta and take the win. So
Very good. Very good. That's a 6, 7.5, and a 7. We got 3 scores out of the two of us. But all 3 of those are on the positive side, right? Anything above 5, we look as you're going to win. Below 5, you got concern or there's no way we're going to win. So we feel good about this game.
I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. That's a noon game on Sunday. Reggie and I
Noon
love the
Central,
noon games.
1 Eastern.
Yep,
And
yep.
by the way, Ken, do you realize that this little side note, sir,
Okay.
looking ahead, this is officially Washington's last noon/1 Eastern game until December 7th.
Oh
No more noon starts for your boys. It's going to
man,
be 3 o'clock starts or Sunday night or Monday night.
this
Here
is
on out.
This is Reggie and I hearing that news. You know. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we don't like the obscure names. We like the noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. We Reggie and I would prefer all of our games to be there. You know,
All of them.
we don't need prime time. Yeah, it's nice to shine on prime time if you play well, but heck with that.
But think
We
about
want
that.
noon games. Adjust our life every Sunday for a noon Central game.
So think about that. For the next 8 weeks after this Sunday, 2 months, we will not see a noon game. So our games are going to either be the national game at 3 o'clock,
Yeah,
or we're going to be playing on Sunday night, Monday night, and again a couple of 3 o'clock games because we're going to be playing in the West Coast. But no more noon games until December 7th, sir.
wow, wow. Well, enjoy it while we got it, right? Enjoy it while we got it. So,
That's it, man. But
but
that's all I got, man. Until hopefully we come out with the W here,
yep.
and we'll be back, do a little post game reaction to the game. And until then, y'all, appreciate you tuning in. Peace out.
Peace out, knuckleheads.